Now, Eyewitness News Night Beat.
Good evening. A major development in a fierce labor battle happening right here in Connecticut.
We're talking about the UPS strike about to go into its 12th day. And tonight, striking Teamster members are discussing whether to call it quits and go back to work. A vote to do so would be the ultimate break, but workers in Stratford have gone forward with the first step, a meeting on the latest offer. And NightBEAT reporter Donna Savarese is there live with all the details. Donna?
Denise, this has been a raucous and at times heated night for members of Local 191 representing UPS workers from New Haven down to Milford. Now, their meeting ended just about an hour ago. Most have families to support, and many want to get back to the delivery trucks and moving packages right now.
All in all, I want to vote. That's it. We want to vote to go back to work.
That was a common theme on this night, even for Lance James, a part-timer.
I work between 40 and 60 hours a week, any way.
Do you get benefits?
I get the part-time benefits. I don't get full-time benefits.
But you're still saying what the company has put forward is good enough for you?
It's good enough for me.
Many who are ready to go back to work now say they feel frustrated and misrepresented by the Teamsters.
I waste my time coming here believing that I would be satisfied. Now I'm leaving unsatisfied.
I'd like to know if there's been a precedent set for situations like this where a company made a proposal, the union has turned it down, a new proposal has been made, and we did not get a chance to vote on that second proposal.
Donald Ramos has organized a petition so the rank and file can see the particulars of what UPS has put forward firsthand, something they say Teamster leaders have not really allowed them to do.
I'm not sure if it's good or bad. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about it, but I want to be able to see it, so then I can make up my mind.
Here's what Teamsters say is a 5-year overview of the offer UPS has put forward. For full-timers in the first year, over $3,000 in a profit-sharing plan, followed by 50-cent wage increases in the second, third, and fourth years, and another projected profit-sharing plan in the fifth year. For part-timers, approximately $1,500 in a profit-sharing plan the first year, as well as a $1 wage increase. Then 50-cent wage increases in the second, third, and fourth years, and a projected profit-sharing plan in the fifth year. Still, some say they're not sure that's good enough, and they're sticking with what the union decides.
I feel like the company pays us, and we pay the union to represent us, and that's where we should stand.
I believe that you have to take a stand against corporate greed. I mean, UPS has, they have $22 billion in revenue, and every year they cry poverty.
Now, many full-timers do say one lingering sticking point is allowing part-timers to do some work that was previously designated as full-time only. They are worried about their job security. Now, everybody we spoke with tonight wants to get back to work. They just want to do it on terms that they can live with, and we'll keep you posted. Back to you, folks.
Donna Savarese on the Night Beat in Stratford.
And there are more indications tonight that there could be cracks appearing in the armor of the Teamsters Union in the UPS strike. It certainly was not a unified front in Jacksonville, Florida today. That's where several dissenting UPS workers chose to picket the local Teamsters headquarters. And this has happened in other cities as well. The workers say they're unhappy and they want a chance to vote themselves in the latest offer rather than allowing union leaders to make the call for them.
There may be some reason for hope from today's talks in Washington. Hope because they've lasted more than 12 hours. And sources say it looks like both sides will keep talking right through the night. The bargaining session is described as informal. Secretary Alexis Herman, the Labor Secretary, is looking on.
Pilot problems could begin as soon as the drivers' differences are worked out. Their union held a news conference to say they're still flying without a contract. In the past week and a half, pilots have been honoring the Teamsters picket lines. Talks between UPS and the pilots union to avoid strike 2 are set for the fall.
And there's word of legal trouble for the Teamsters tonight. A conservative group has filed unfair labor charges against the Teamsters, saying the union is using its muscle to force membership to honor the picket lines. The National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation now wants the National Labor Relations Board to look into their claims.
Those directly involved aren't the only ones paying the price for the UPS strike. Cities and towns are now complaining about the cost of overtime paid to police officers guarding the picket lines. In Warwick, Rhode Island, that's almost $8,000 a day, and the mayor has now turned to the state for help.
Have the National Guard on duties that are there available for this type of help, and I think that's the job description, ready to help out in situations such as this.
Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Ullman has not yet decided on Warwick's request. And tonight, as the talks continue, UPS says 2 of its trucks were forced off the road near Minneapolis. Keep it on Channel 3 for continuing coverage of all developments in the strike.
A woman's body is found badly beaten on Martin Street in Hartford's North End, and tonight the results of an autopsy have authorities saying it was murder. The victim's body was discovered this morning. The state coroner says Cheryline Crawford died from blunt head trauma. No disturbance was reported at her address before the body was found. And police in Naugatuck have arrested a man in connection with the attempted abduction of a 22-year-old woman. 51-year-old Stanley Rutkowski is being held on $2,000 bond. He'll be arraigned tomorrow in Waterbury. Rutkowski is charged with unlawful restraint and breach of peace.
And this was the scene on Interstate 84 in Waterbury tonight after a motorcycle and a car collided. Both people on the motorcycle were injured and rushed to the hospital. No word on their conditions tonight. State police are trying to figure out what led to the crash.
What could be done? Let me hear you say yeah!
Supporters of Minister Louis Farrakhan joined friends and relatives today in reenacting the police shooting of Malik Jones. Jones was shot and killed April 14th in New Haven after a police chase that began in East Haven. The shooting is still under investigation. The Nation of Islam is now calling for the East Haven officer involved, Robert Floodquist, to step down.
Well, tonight mourners gathered to remember a Hartford girl who was hit by a car and dragged, hurt so severely she later died. A wake was held tonight for 12-year-old Carol Cortez, who will be buried tomorrow. Meantime, the girl's family wants the owner of the car that hit her daughter charged, saying she should have known the driver had a suspended license.
And the search has been called off for the night for a 16-year-old runaway in the Cockaponset State Forest. Police suspended the hunt for Richard Perel at dusk. Searchers say the Oxford resident was a patient at the Riverview Psychiatric Hospital when he walked away yesterday. Officials say Perel is not considered dangerous. They believe he is now barefoot, having thrown away his shoes to throw off the scent of bloodhounds trailing him.
Bad weather is being blamed for yesterday's tour bus crash in New Hampshire. The bus flipped over after it hydroplaned in heavy rain on Interstate 93. 9 of the 10 elderly passengers were hurt, including 2 people from Connecticut. None of the injuries were serious.
There is new information tonight on a frightening accident back in June involving 2 divers in Long Island Sound. The Milford officers were on a training exercise when all of a sudden they got tangled in debris. One man became trapped, and as he was rescued, his air ran out. Milford police say poor visibility was a factor now in this accident and that the equipment was working. Both officers have since returned to work.
It's all ears every morning in one Connecticut town where many people find a daily wake-up call very annoying. A farmer in Somers has been shooting off a cannon to help his crops, but rattled and weary neighbors are meeting to stifle the boom. NightBEAT reporter Jennifer Watson joins us now live from Somers with more on this story. Jennifer.
That's right, Dennis. The farmer fires off the cannon to scare crows away from his crops, but people who live in the community say they're jolted awake, their children can't sleep, and it goes on for months and months.
I think there's a price to pay for everything in this world. If you live near an airport, you have to put up with airport noise. If you live near farms, you have to put up with farm noise.
Cannon was first issued in 1993. The people have been living there 20, 25 years. I think if they had known that there was going to be a cannon, they wouldn't have bought that property.
For 4 years, farmer Andrew Lyman and his son Thomas have used a propane cannon to scare crows and blackbirds from their crops. 6 times an hour, from sunup to sundown, the cannon goes off.
You just let it go all day long. You set it in the morning.
We let it go. It's on a timer. We've tried numerous other approaches to get rid of these crows. Cannon's given us better than 90% effectiveness.
But people who live here because they wanted the country life say it's anything but peaceful, and the quality of their lives has suffered. But there's not much they can do but complain, because a state law from 1967 that protects farmers' rights prohibits any new ordinances changing them.
He said the birds only come out in the morning, the first, say, from 5 a.m. till 10 a.m. Now, we're listening to this cannon from 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. That's an additional 11 hours every single day, day in and day out, from May 1st until October 15th.
The issue at the meeting became about legal sound levels of the cannon.
It does not appear that there's going to be a compromise. So we have to make a determination as to whether the letter of the law is being obeyed at this point in time.
The residents want to make sure that he's in compliance with the maximum noise level that he is allowed.
Now, the farmer says he can't fire the cannon any less, or he could lose part of his crop to the birds. An audiologist is going to be hired to see if the cannon levels exceed noise levels. Once they find out, another meeting is going to be called. Until then, the cannon will continue to be fired starting first thing in the morning. Dennis, back to you.
Jennifer Watson live tonight in Somers.
Now we have a story about Publishers Clearinghouse. Rumor had it that this would be a Connecticut story, but instead the winner of the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, announced tonight, lives in Florida. Ralton and Beverly Thomas of the Tampa area are this year's grand prize winners. The Thomases get $50,000 a year for the next 30 years, and the rest of us get to keep dreaming.
Well, let's hope we have the right numbers when it comes to the weekend weather.
We're talking about high temperatures and low rain totals. Are we going to get it? Here's Hilton with the first look at Connecticut's most accurate forecast.
Well, I'll say one thing for sure. No balloons at my house tonight, but the forecast for tonight says almost autumn. Normal low for mid-September is 55, not for mid-August. And when you wake up near 60 degrees, cooler than normal during the day tomorrow, a dry, pleasant evening tomorrow evening, and then things begin to heat up. But that's a weekend, and we'll have that full weekend forecast coming up shortly.
Okay, thanks, Hilton. There is little hope tonight concerning those missing hikers caught in an Arizona canyon during a flash flood. Searchers say they have found the body of a second hiker. 9 others, mostly European, are feared dead. Now, authorities say they most likely died in the muck at the canyon bottom or washed away into a lake 4 miles downstream. The only hiker to make it out was a tour guide.
The man convicted in the deadliest act of terrorism on U.S. soil, the Oklahoma City bombing, speaks in court today for the first time. Minutes before a judge formally sentenced him to death, Timothy McVeigh quoted Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis saying, "The government teaches the whole people by its example." Family members of the victims were angry and disappointed, saying McVeigh should have used his own words.
Satisfaction? No, no satisfaction. I mean, that doesn't replace my child. You know, none of this, replaces someone you've lost.
I feel sad that we have to do this. You know, this is a human being.
I thought maybe somewhere down the line he'd say, "I'm sorry," or apologize, or, you know, say something about it, but evidently he didn't.
Back in June, a jury convicted McVeigh in the bombing that killed 168 people. The same jury later sentenced him to death. The other suspect, Terry Nichols, goes on trial next month.
The suspect in yesterday's killings of a woman and her 4 young children in Detroit is in critical condition tonight after jumping from a 5th-floor window at police headquarters. No word on whether the 22-year-old was trying to commit suicide or just escape. Yesterday, a woman found the bodies of her 21-year-old sister and 4 children. All had been stabbed to death, the oldest only 5 years old.
A deadly police standoff continues at this hour near Memphis. Police say a man with a history of mental problems has been holed up in his house all day. The episode began this morning when the man's father told a neighbor that his son had, quote, lost it. 2 officers were shot, one of them killed while responding to the call. A woman walking her dog nearby was also wounded, apparently by accident. We are still monitoring this story, and of course we'll bring you any late-breaking developments.
ValueJet is making some serious charges over last year's deadly crash of Flight 592 in the Florida Everglades. The airline says the contractor that prepared a shipment of oxygen canisters that are the suspected cause of the crash deliberately mislabeled that shipment. ValueJet cites government interviews with the contractor's workers as evidence. All 110 people on board Flight 592 were killed.
Tonight, some New York City police officers find themselves in different jobs, and the reason? The massive life-threatening injuries to an immigrant. Next on the Night Beat, we're going to hear from him, and we'll have the latest on the shakeup.
Having a house of pot gets a man in plenty of trouble. Tonight, hear his side of the story and about the actor who bailed him out.
And for weeks, the title was up for grabs. Tonight, meet the new and official oldest person.
After this timeout, Denise and I will be right back with more of the Night Beat.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News. This is Connecticut's news station.